So, like, water is the dye trace in the system. If you're looking for how consciousness behaves, right? If you're looking for how reality behaves, like the world is infinitely mysterious, right? But it's a little bit like a sewer pipe, and you can put fluorescent dye in it and see how the fluorescent dye is moving, and you go, oh, that's how the water's moving, or that's how the invisible thing is moving. It's because I put this dye trace in. And so while your consciousness is infinitely deep, infinitely complex in any particular moment, any particular space, anywhere, contains the depth of the whole universe, you can put a little bit of water in it, and if you watch how the water moves, you go, okay, that's how consciousness is moving, even though it's moving in this unfathomable way. And so the map is the water cycle. If you look at the water cycle on the earth of how it's doing, you have this aggregate substance of consciousness. It's undifferentiated. It's the same everywhere. It contains all sorts of different, like, information. It's completely miscible in itself. So when you have one body of water here and one body of water there, and you put them together, you have a single undifferentiated body of water that has the memory and the qualities and the attributes of both separate bodies of water. So you get the water constantly, like, coming into bodies, right, to have an individual experience. This is the incarnation process. The bodies have like a genetic framework, and so the DNA creates this temporal sequence of this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and why. And the water is there as the information storage medium, because it's happening in awareness. Awareness is the thing with the memory. Awareness is the thing with the will, right? The reason that there's information contained in water, the reason that water has memory, is just because it is awareness and it remembers. That's the nature of awareness, is it remembers what was. So the water is doing the looking. And so the animals are all different, the races are all different, the people are all different, but the awareness, the I, is exactly the same. Except for while it's in this body, while the body of water is isolated, it's obviously individual. But if you take that water and you put it into another body of water, that the I is still there. The I never changes. The I of the water is universal, though all the water is the same I. When it splits into bodies with boundaries, it has different, like, I don't know, quote unquote impurities dissolved in it, which gives it a different taste, a different flavor, a different character. Water is the map of the soul. So everything you've ever seen in terms of, like, the different planes of consciousness, different like how the soul incarnates, how humanity is all one, how humanity's separate, all this other stuff. All of that is if it's real, it's because people are describing reality. And if you want to see that reality that people try and describe with metaphysics of the soul, look at how the water is behaving. And so it evaporates, it comes to one, it goes through the dissolving process, right? You take the water out of the body and put it in the ground. And all the things that it experienced are worked on and decayed and dissolved. in general a good thing. If it doesn't happen every now and then, whatever. But left to its own devices, that's how water embodies itself. It takes a body and then it falls to the ground and then it decays and dissolves and the water both evaporates and goes into the ground. Both evaporates and returns to the sea. And even the evaporation eventually returns to the sea. And then that eye is constantly taking body, right? It's incarnating. Like when you really dig into it, you go, there is no eye. But there is, and informationally it's strangely eternal. Like no matter what you do, your information is here in this water, and this will rejoin all water, and the information of you will be in that water. This is heaven. Like if you see that this is heaven. Heaven is where that eternal information is stored in the water. It's stored in the water's memory. It's not a physical thing or a wave pattern or something like that. It's the memory and the mind of God. The awareness of God, like, remembers what happened. That's heaven. And then this water's fractal, like the water is this electrical activity of H2O, right? This cymatic pattern of electricity creates a field. Something about H2O creates a field, a dense field that we call water. And the field aggregates to itself in droplets, fills and forms basins, and the water is a field, is consciousness. And then it can evaporate, it can be, water can dissolve, when water evaporates, it's dissolving in the air. So water, when it dissolves into the air, it changes the properties of the air, but the water is gone. All you have is air. Right, so water can dissolve into air just like sugar or salt can dissolve into water. In the tree of life, the bodies, like the body right here, is physicality, is bone, is flesh, and then that flesh and that physicality is reaching into the water, and at the tip of the body, like at the edge of the body, which is better to be seen at towards the part of the body that's dissolving in the water, right? There's certain things about you that are dissolved in water, ions, electrons, activities about you that are in the water. They're not, they're dissolved. They're existing as field. Parts of you are existing as field. Your breath, all the electrons, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, the metabolism, the ion channels, the cellular transport stuff, all that is dissolved in water. It's not exactly physical, it's the field, it's a behavior of the field. When something is dissolved, it's behaving as that field. And so the body is things that are not dissolved, the fleshy stuff that you can see reaching into the water, almost like leaves, right? There's branches going down into it, and you could see as the DNA is like solid, not dissolved in the water, but then it's interacting with base pairs or proteins that are dissolved in water, that are gone. And so there's this boundary point between the physicality and the field, and that's the tree of life. The trees, everything reaches up into that to where they're interacting partially with field, partially with physicality. So they're reaching into awareness. Awareness is that invisible field that the tree of life is reaching into, where the breath is dissolved, where the electricity of the mind is dissolved, where the will, the effort to push comes from. It's all coming from the water of the body, all coming from the field. And so it's just different fields of the same stuff around, like, right, the field of the asphalt is the same as the field of the water. It's just at a different density, so they kind of like they push into each other, just like the air and the water pushes into each other, or floats on top of each other, right? If you throw a piece of iron into some water, it sinks because that field is of a denser density than the water, so it sinks, or it's I don't know how to describe it while I'm driving, but there's gravity is sort of an electromagnetic connection. Both of the substances are in a more universal field, and so that if one's lighter than the other one, it'll sink in that universal field. Or if you throw a piece of foam, that foam won't dissolve in the water, but it'll float on top of the water. It can't go into the water. Even though it's like a denser field, it's an object, it's not dissolved in air either. Like air can't go into water, it's a field, and that field can't penetrate water, so you get a boundary layer. And then you have things like foam, or any sort of object is not dissolved in the field of the air, nor is it dissolved in the water, but it's dense, it's lighter than the water, so it floats. Same thing's happening with something like steel, except it's denser than water, so it sinks. So like everything is behaving this way. If you look at like how any little particular part of the body is behaving that way, it's behaving like all the water of the planet and the water cycle is behaving. That pattern, that resonance, all the water is in resonance with itself. So it's doing what it's doing. It's doing at a large scale what it's doing at a small scale. So you can just look at it at the perceptual scale, and you're looking at the field which is creating all things. You're looking at the field of consciousness that is your life. And it's a Ouroboros, it's a Taurus, it's self-eating. Like what I'm talking about is everywhere in all things. So it's not just the water, but if you look at what you are right now, it's like 80% water. It's water. And then everything that you can perceive or whatever has to do with and is connected to the water, because it has to do with your metabolism and your perception and your sensory organs and all that, which is inside of and mediated by water. So whenever you're using those terms, whenever you're using those concepts, whenever you're using any of these things, you're unavoidably drawn toward, like, it's water. And you'd think there would be some sort of appreciation for synthesizing this or putting it all together to where even I mean, everything plugs into this. Nobody's left out, nothing's left out. It helps everyone just as much as Water helps everybody. But we'll just go on. Not really working with it. Because you can't study it. You can't research it. You can't understand it. You can't know about it in the strictest sense of the word. But you can work with it. And it doesn't make anything or anyone special. Right? Like God shines on everybody equally. The water gets everyone equally wet, so it doesn't give you like occulted knowledge that makes you like, "Ooh, look at me, I'm so special, I'm the only one that knows it." It washes away all that stuff. And at some point, even all the water itself is around or enveloping or leading to baptism in Christianity. That's the most important thing anybody's ever used water for. So water is the flood, the chaos, the awareness, the eye surrounding the mystery of Golgotha, basically, or the Trinity.